Hey guys, this is going to be another look at ZB and also UB in the 30-year yield charts. And I'm going to get down into the tick chart and the hourly chart and show how they're basically fractals of each other. And this wave one up, whether it's a wave one of A or all of A, we don't know, but this seems to be about done. And so we may have a red week next week, and we'll look at that. But I want to start on the weekly chart. And again, sort of the baseline scenario for this, I'm not going to go through it again, is this. And that this was a wave 5 down, and that we traded an extension for a 4 and a 5 down here, and that this was a bottom. Not the bottom, but a bottom. And the first step towards confirming that is that first we need to confirm that this was a 3, 4, 5, that extension and next move was a 4 and a 5. And the way we do that is we overlap the bottom of this wave 1 over here, which is this red line. That would say that whatever is happening now is not a fourth wave at this degree of trend. And it's important not to get married to any one scenario. And so the alternative that traders I follow are looking at is that, let me just take a screen capture here. The alternative is that this is a third wave and not a fifth wave. So on the largest degree of trend, if you just ignore all of the smaller time frames and just look at this weekly chart, it's possible to read this as a 1. Even though on the 2-hour chart, it seems 95% unambiguous that this is a 3-wave move to kick things off. But if you just, on the weekly chart, read it as a 1 and a 2 and then a 3 and then a 4 and then this 5 that stalls on the median of the channel. We'll see this again on the hourly chart, this is something that the bond markets like to do. ZB, I should say, is it fifth waves can stall on the median. Then that would be 1, and it's sort of textbook, right? We have a channel with a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4. 4 clean points of contact on this purple channel, and then the fifth stalls at the median. So, I mean, you can argue that. And then this is a little 2 up. And then this would be a 1 of 3, a 2 of 3. And this is either, again, the same question, all of 3 or 3 of 3, depending on whether you see that as a 4 and a 5 for this larger channel here. In which case, if this is, so to back up, if this is a big 1 down, if this is a big 1 that stalls on the median and a 2 at the top and a 3 may have completed here, then at the larger degree of trend, this overlap here becomes significant, up around, I don't know, 150-ish. Where if this is going to be a larger degree wave 4, that level becomes significant. So, on ES, we're used to these fifth waves accelerating up or down out of channels. I can't say that I'm used to seeing the same thing on ZB, but I mean, this seems like the primary alternate scenario that we have. The question is, do we have a smaller degree fourth wave to carve out first? I don't think so. Or do we have a larger degree fourth wave and this was a 1 down? And again, all of this is just speculation. It's just mapping out some possible scenarios, and it depends on what the yield chart is doing. If the yield chart is offering up a bullish scenario, and again, the scenario, the baseline scenario on yield is this. We've looked at this before, and this was some sort of similar, if it was a bear nest on ZB, it was a bull nest to get things started on yield. Somewhere down here, there's a 1 2 1 2, Then we went 3, 4, 3, 4, and 5. And this is the extension that traded here, highs to highs extension. And we broke the next highs to highs extension. So really the possible support on yield, I think, would be the same anchor to new highs, which is close, as is the bottom of this blue channel that we've been in. So I think we're going to get maybe a green week on yield and a red week on ZB. Is that everything I want to say about the larger time frame here? I think so. I'm working under the assumption that this was a bottom and that this was a, either all of A or one of A. And that, I mean, this was clearly an impulse wave, stronger than any, I remember looking in depth at this triangular fourth wave thing that happened over here and trying to find an impulse wave off this low. And I never really got a satisfactory answer. So that was just a big giant clue that this was all corrective. But this is definitely different. So it will. I do remember that this fourth wave came up, and the high here was the same tick as the bottom of this wave over here, implying that this was some sort of 1-4 relationship. So, I mean, if you're bullish, you do need a degree of caution around this red line. It might get a reaction the first time up there. And depending on when we get there, we'll sort of be bumping against this channel here. But I think that's it for the weekly chart. So if we go to the smaller time frame here, so I mean, let's just start on the hourly chart and look at this move up. We started, and specifically at these channels, we started with a channel that came up something like this, right? There was a wind up, a bull nest. We went 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we ripped. And we'll look at UB in a second. UB maintained this channel. The longest end of the curve is the strongest, and UB has been stronger than ZB relatively. ZB couldn't hold this channel, right? And I was initially thinking that this was the fifth wave kissing it from underneath. And so it went something like a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. This was a little fourth wave, 3, 4, 5. But that was wrong. And so what we've done is we've just created a larger, more shallow channel, right? And what's interesting about it is that after this most recent fourth wave, you can't draw a channel with only 2 points of contact, right? So this channel, we broke the steep one, and this channel didn't exist until this third point materialized. And then we could say, okay, so maybe there's a channel from here over to here. And when you do that, then in hindsight, you see how the median has gotten all of these reactions. There's a wick, there's wicks, there's touches, there's a wick, and we've been sort of coiling around it here. And as we know, ZB fifth waves can stall at the median of these channels. But what's interesting is that this channel became visible to a human who could draw a channel only right here. But the algorithms were already trading it, were aware of it with all of these touches that become visible to us only in hindsight. And so to me, this is yet more evidence that the algos are using these channels. The channel is just a visual representation of whatever the math in the formula is that the algos are using, right? The algos were using this channel before I could ever draw it. And so now it's visible, and this median is important. We could stall right here. And so the way I'm reading this, if we go to the tick chart and show the similarities in these fractals here. So this is this latest move up, and it looks something like another nest to get things started, right? A 1 2 1 2, and then we go 3 4 3, expanded flat 4, and then a 5. And it's difficult to understand this structure and whatever's happening in here, but regardless, we have a fifth wave, seems like a fifth wave, that is potentially stalling at the median of this channel. And if we go back to the hour chart, the way to read this is very similar, with these small ones and twos and these big threes and fives. And it would be, 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 4 3 4 3 4 5, median of the channel. So, if you're long, you might want to lighten up. And so it's interesting, they never gave you a pullback to get into this move, and it is just interesting to look at these fourth waves, right? So there was one there, that was a smaller, that was a smaller degree fourth wave there. This was a fourth wave. They're just stacked on top of each other. There are no deep retracements. And then this one, this larger degree fourth wave for this whole channel, was the first one that came back into the zone of the fourth wave of the lesser degree of trend right here. We came halfway back into this gray box right here. This was just a classic ABC correction. And so, if we have looking at retracements for, if this is the top of wave 1 or wave A and we're going to have a retracement, what are the zones where you should be maybe getting long? And this is the fourth wave of the prior degree of trend right here. And if you look at the full retracement of this move, let's just call that a top for now, then the 38.2 retracement is below this fourth wave. So it looks like 126 is maybe a zone where you might want to think about getting long again. Is that I'm running out of time already. Is that everything I wanted to say on this chart? Maybe. And as far as UB goes, the reason I was talking about going shorting UB and staying long ZB, which may not make sense to some people because UB has been stronger, but UB has been more technical about holding this initial channel. We've had overthrows here, but UB has had sort of a well-defined sell zone where we had this initial, we've been going up in extensions. There's an extension to and through target. Here's another extension to and through target. And then maybe what we traded here, you could say it's either just a regular retracement, or it's a same anchor to new high sort of extension. But the point is, UB has been more technical, and with respect to running to targets and overthrowing this channel, and so it has a more well-defined sell zone. ZB's channel sort of shallowed out, and it was kind of difficult to get a read on where you might want to consider selling it. I just realized I haven't looked at the shorter term 30-year yield chart, and I am almost out of time, but suffice to say that this looks like a complete 5-wave move down. 1 2 3 4 5, and we've reconnected with the weekly Bollinger Band. So Possible to get a reversal next week. I'm out of time. Thanks, guys.